Welcome to our meaningful midweek conversation. Well, this one's going to be a bit of a challenge because Paul's internet is a little bit dodgy. He can hear us, he can speak, but we don't often get the words in the same time that he's moving his mouth. It's all a little bit disjointed. We're just going to go with it. We're just going to go with it because that's just the way it is. So, welcome to this week's conversation. My name's Lisa. We've got Maxine here from Never Too Late, Our Journey, and Paul from Narrowboat Life Unlocked. And as you know, if you have joined us before, we just like to get together for good conversation. Oh, yes. So, we've said to Paul, as long as he can hear us, we don't mind stopping and listening whilst he explains what he's saying. So hopefully the internet will improve. It'll all be good. But if not, we're just going to go with it because, well, that's what sometimes you have to do, don't you? So let's get started and find out where everybody is and what we're up to. Maxine, where are you?
We are now at Kilby Bridge. Near Leicester. We won't be here as quickly as we got here, but we left Foxton and on Monday we had an overnighter, and then we were planning on just doing a couple of miles and then wait till we had to be here for today, sort of thing. But there's just nowhere to moor, and so we ended up doing, because we were only going to do 5 locks. We ended up doing 12 locks in the heat. It was terrible, but we managed to get somewhere to moor because we're having new batteries and everything fitted tomorrow, so that's why we have to be somewhere for today that the guy can come to easy to carry all the batteries and everything. So
when you said there was nowhere to moor, was that there was nowhere suitable or there was just too many boats?
No, it was just nowhere suitable. Well, they've got Armco, but because CRT for some reason they're not looking after paths, and it was really overgrown to the extent where it was bushes coming out. If it was just grass, when we'd have moored up and Steve would have cut everything down. Yeah. But there was actual bushes, and it would have scratched the paintwork and everything. So we just had to keep going because it wasn't safe. There was the odd boat. That the only space there was boating, but not very many people could moor there. It's a shame.
No,
I'm paying to CRT. I'm waiting for them to come back.
A stiff email. That's what you need.
Made me feel better.
A strongly worded email. Yes, exactly. Thanks for that, Maxine. Paul, where are you, and how are you coping with the heat, basically?
Well, we're on the Trent and Mersey. I'm heading towards Midweek today, and Dexter was panting that we with some shade. The boats sit on the tow path under shaded, and I think I said to Lisa the other night, tows on whatever 35 Celsius on the boat. It was like Tenko.
So, Paul, we heard some of that. It's been hot, basically. It has been hot, but you did manage to find some shade because you told me that you'd managed to find a good spot.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Well, this week, I was going to say we've been black in the boat. That would actually be a little bit of a royal we. I did 2 hours on Sunday morning. So that's it. That's all I've done. But Glenn has been working really hard this week, and he's been coming home like filthy, like covered in black, and it looks like it's been real hard work. So he's done very well. He's done very well. So just a big shout out to everybody who is watching. Hello Boat Time. Hello Joan. Hello Louise. Narrowboat Changing Pace, and Kev. Hello. Today, you are wondering what we're going to be talking about. So, we are talking about coping mechanisms. So that's a posh way of saying, what do you do when? So what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed? What do you do when you're feeling down? And what do you do when you take yourself too seriously? That last one's for me at the end, particularly. So I thought it'd be a really good idea to share how we get ourselves out of those moods, basically, and to ask you to share your coping mechanisms as well, because they're just good resources to be able to pull on when you're not feeling great. So which one should we start with? Overwhelm, feeling down, or taking yourself too seriously? What do you reckon?
Too seriously?
Should we start with that one?
Of course, causes some of the problems, doesn't it?
Okay. All right. So, well, let's ask the question, because there might be some people watching that are like, no, never do I take myself too seriously. So who does? Who takes themselves too seriously at times? Yeah. and not only just too seriously, sometimes it's like the whole world is just like, you know, revolving around me, and I'm like, you know, the center of it. So first of all, how do you recognize, what does that look like to you, Maxine, when you take yourself too seriously? Does it sneak up on you, and you suddenly get a realization that you're there, or what does that look like to you?
I would say it's something that sneaks up and then it just blows up in my face, basically. I think, yeah, right. And you think, well, you know, why? And you get cross with yourself. Well, I get cross with myself and think, right, back to basics and stop, you know, being a prima donna, really.
I love that analogy. It sneaks up on you, blows up in your face. Yeah. Paul, what does taking yourself too seriously look like for you?
Yeah, it's mentioned in America a few years ago. Always try and think out. That's what it is. You become so, and take yourself so seriously outside the box. Yeah.
Oh, Paul, we are losing the essence of what you're saying. Something about thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Was it?
Outside the box, and don't take yourself. Yeah, I'm very guilty of sometimes. But then you think, you got to think, actually, this isn't as I thought it was.
Yeah, so I think you're saying that when you take yourself too seriously, you sometimes then think, well, actually, this isn't as important, or isn't as. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yeah. Or is the world, is it? You know, there's yourself too seriously, but it's never the end of the world. Worse things could happen. It's easy to deal with that. I think.
Yeah. So you're saying it's never the end of the world, and there's worse things that can happen. Is that what you're saying? So yeah, I agree. So last week, which to be honest, that conversation was fantastic for me last week, because as you know, I'd been in like a right old tiz was. And the realization sort of about a day or so after that conversation was like, am I just taking myself a little bit too seriously here? Am I just thinking too much about this? Do I just need to lighten up and live my life? And as you said, Paul, this isn't the end of the world. There's other things out there in the world that are a little bit more important. And then it was that realization of like, oh yeah, I sort of have become center stage in my world, and let's lighten up a little bit. So that was a good realization, what does it take once you realize that? Can you snap out of it like that? Is it, because for me, it sort of is a bit, when I take myself too seriously and I realize the minute I make that observation, I can step it back from it and think, oh, hold on. I've blown this all out of proportion. And it's like that. It's quite instant for me. Is that the same for you?
It is for me. I can just step straight back and just calm, and I can feel myself calming down and rethinking of everything and start again, basically. Yeah, definitely.
Seeing it differently. Is that same for you, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah, you can have a partner in life that takes seriously and make light of something really. Again, sort of. So if your self-sense gets into you, give you that reality check, but not a physical shake.
Yeah.
So just nod, Paul, if I'm getting this right. So you said it helps to have a partner or somebody that can give you that reality check and say, get a grip of yourself, basically. Yes. Is that what you were saying? Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what everyone else is saying. Hello to everybody. Yet another canal adventure. Hello, Mick, Elaine. Oh, Elaine's saying she's talking about taking herself too seriously sometimes. Let's have a look. Morning. I take myself too seriously occasionally, but when I find myself spiraling, I try to take a step back, a deep breath, and a moment to shake myself. I think that's it, isn't it? I think it is that moment when you realise, when you realise, Mick is saying, I've learned not to be the smartest person in the room and listen and watch more. That is a great life lesson, that one. That really is. Kev, did you get the microphone off Norman Collier? Mick saying reboot, my friend. He's saying that to you, but we've tried that. We've turned Paul on and off before we came live. I felt bad. I was like, Paul, I'm switching you off and then back on again. It didn't work. And you actually switched from 12 volt to something else here, and that still didn't work.
Yeah.
Let's have what. After being involved in scouting for far too many years, friends will soon stop me from being too serious and the phrase, suck it up, princess. I can't now take myself too seriously. That is brilliant. That's just what you said, Paul, about having somebody like a friend or a partner who sort of just brings that to your attention. I think that's really valuable, isn't it? So, so I think that's okay. What if you don't have that realization? You end up taking yourself seriously for too long. I mean, we're quite lucky, I think, that we have that moment of realization. Paul, did you put your hand up? Are you that person?
If I take myself too seriously, I can sulk for days. I've done that for a long time, taking myself too seriously as I get.
Now, I think you said, Paul, that you can then sulk for days. You've said that before. You're a big sulker. You are. So, what makes me think about taking myself too seriously? That conversation I had last week about creating something of value and doing something big, and and that realization of actually just slow it down. It's not that it's not important, but don't take yourself too seriously. So
don't sweat the small stuff.
Absolutely. So that's a good one. Let's move on to the next one then. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed? Now, first, who has the tendency for overwhelm? I'm actually putting 2 hands up. 2 hands. I am a classic overwhelmed. Like, I mean, it follows a pattern. I have brilliant ideas. Oh my goodness! If I had £1 for each of my ideas, I have brilliant ideas. I have energy and excitement. I start them, all of them, at the same time, obviously, and then along comes all the work that comes with it, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I feel rubbish, and then I crash and burn. And then I start the cycle over again. So that's my overwhelm cycle. I've learned this. Maxine, do you get overwhelmed?
Yeah, I do. My tendency, once I do, I can feel it gradually go up, and I usually end up crying. It's classic. Get it out.
It ends in tears.
It always does. But I am getting better at it now. I don't take on as much as I used to, because before I used to just take, if anybody asked for anything, I used to say yes, and then think, oh, how am I going to get it all done? And so now I do, think now before. It still happens occasionally, but nowhere near like it used to do.
That's brilliant. That's really interesting, Maxine. I'm going to come back to a couple of things that you said. I'm going to try and speak to Paul. Paul, you feel overwhelmed at times as well, don't you? And what does that look like to you?
It's that I have all these good plans. I find enough hours in the day to do it, because I'm thinking of all the things next day. I'm too tired. It's like a never-ending circle.
I wonder, Paul, if overwhelm and procrastination go hand in hand, because both me and you, we're good procrastinators as well when stuff needs doing. So I wonder if they go hand in hand. Maxine, you don't strike me as a procrastinator.
No, I used to be, but I must admit, the last probably 6 to 8 months, I've really stopped really, and I'm very focused. If I've got something I need to get done, I will get it done. And that's the way I am these days.
What's interesting that I've noticed about my overwhelm sort of cycle is when I'm at the caravan or when I'm at the boat, I feel in a way insulated from the demands of the world. And so I feel less overwhelmed the minute I get to either of those places, but I'm more likely to work on something that I love creating, or even if I'm doing work like that I'd see as a chore, it's carried out in a different way because I feel less of the pressure from the world. It's like I'm insulated. Do you find that, Maxine, since you've moved on to the boat, that you're in, you're in a different space, if you know what I mean? Yeah.
Also, stopping working for somebody else, working for myself, and moving on to, so the pressure, if I put any pressure or anything like that, it's on me because I put it on myself. And so, and I've realised one before taking on too much and things like that. And now that's why I know how much I want to take, and I'm really strict with it, so that I just don't get that feeling of over. If I do, it's because I've put too much stuff on to me, and then I just have to take a step back and right and prioritize everything, and it works now.
Because most of this goes on in our head, doesn't it? Most of that feeling of
definitely.
overwhelm is in there. Paul, how do you balance that? Because obviously you do a lot of art on the boat.
Yeah.
So I can imagine if, say, you've got a lot of commissions, it's like there's no break from that for you because you're there in that space. How does that feel, and how do you work with that?
Really frustrated if I know commission and I've not got enough time to those, let alone sit and look, which was the dream of getting them. I think sometimes it's good step away from whatever you're doing. With the dog is just a brilliant fresh air and give you some thinking time. Oh, maybe phone a good friend, a good chat with a good friend, and if you chest, but just having that AR and finding that reality check really about things, because it can be stressful.
Yeah. So what I heard there was that it's frustrating when you haven't got you feel you haven't got enough time for, like, say, commissions, and when actually the dream was to move onto the boat, to be sitting reading and just like having all this time. But you find that when you go out in nature or to phone a friend, it gives you that sort of different perspective. It gives you that break from that. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's have a look. Let's have a yeah, there's look, we're not alone. Amy gets overwhelmed easily. Yeah. I mean, I think overwhelmed. Is it a type of person that gets overwhelmed, do you think? Or do you think it applies to everybody?
Person.
You think it's a type of person? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Maxine. What was you going to say?
I think everybody can get overwhelmed, but I think it's the type of, it depends on how you handle it, and that's the thing. And some people can handle it really, really easily, and so it's the type of, and some people struggle with it, and it is. I think everybody can get overwhelmed, but some people just ignore it and carry on.
Heidi brings up a great point about that exact thing that you're talking about. I said I get overwhelmed. Everything is a panic, but once I begin to progress with it, I'm usually buzzing after. And that's what you were saying is like some people just like feel like once you get going with it, like it changes from overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's scary, and you think it's like, panic.
Oh, well. Mick's bringing us all the tough questions. Is procrastination laziness or fear of failure? Sometimes I think it's laziness on my behalf. If I spent as much energy doing the things that I'm thinking about, well, it would be different. I don't know. Well, I don't know. That would be a great topic.
I was supposed to be finishing a project finished last night, and I found notes. I was putting the covers back on, and Anthony said, "Stop putting it." And to distract yourself. Maybe it is a fear. So,
if I get this right, Paul, you were saying you had a project to finish, but you ended up doing stuff like putting covers back on, doing any job essentially, but what you're doing. So are you saying, is it actually to avoid, that fear of failure?
Yes. So,
I think we could do a whole topic on procrastination. I mean, me and Paul, we're experts on it. All we need is some experts on how to avoid it, and then we'll be set. Yeah, maybe next week, procrastination. Paul, I know you've watched a lot of TED Talks, you've read a lot about avoiding procrastination, and I've just procrastinated about procrastination. So I haven't even done anything about making it better. So, you know.
You've not watched the TED?
Louise says she feels much calmer on the boat. She calls it boat bubble. And I love that. Yeah. I feel that when I'm on the boat. I feel instantly calmer.
Yeah.
Amy, again, boat time, says having ADHD, procrastination and being overwhelmed is basically a daily struggle. Setting only one task at a time really helps with that, I find. That is, good. Setting one task at a time. I have actually just had a conversation with a friend who I hadn't spoken to for ages. And we're both very similar, that we have many projects on the go, and most of them, I was going to say, aren't very successful. I don't mean that. It means, what I mean is they've all got great potential and they never reach their potential because they never get finished. And my friend has just suggested a great way to tackle that. And I'm really excited about it. She says, pick one of them and see it as a 30-day challenge, because in your mind, you're much more engaged with the challenge than like just feeling that you've got to do this task that's hanging over you. So if you set a time frame and see it as a challenge, and after that, you know, that's it, you know, you do what you can. And I absolutely love that idea. So that's very similar to what Amy's saying, of like one task at a time. I love the idea of one task and a time limit for it to focus on. So I often wonder whether I may have a touch of ADHD myself. I tend to be a little bit, I see some of the traits and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that maybe. And Louise says, focus, but easier said than done. Somehow you have to manage it. That's what I love about that whole challenge thing, is it changes the mindset of how I see how I focus. I don't.
It'd be a good idea to try it. It's a good idea to try it on something, see how it works, if it works for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm well excited to try it. I mean, because rather than being weighed down by all these half-completed projects that have never reached their potential, and I believe in them all as great projects. This ties back into what I was saying last week about me wanting to create something big and of value. I was thinking, well, you know, why don't I just start one or finish one of the projects I've started? I don't need to start something new. Just finish something I've already started. But yeah, I'm going to do that. I watch this space. It's going to be on this week's vlog. I've decided I am starting. To be honest, the one I'm picking is a new project. Because it's just more exciting than the half-finished ones. But I'm going to try the 30-day thing for this new project, try it out, see how it goes. Then I'll pick one of my old projects. So anyway, let's move on from overwhelm. So I just want to say hello to Neil, who's just joined us as well. So what do you do when you feel down is the question. How do you pick yourself up or move on or change that state or mindset from feeling down? How do you change it? I would love to know how you do it and how everybody who's watching does it, because I believe you can't have too many of those tactics and ideas that will help you when you're feeling crap, essentially. So Maxine, number one, do you ever feel down?
Yeah. On many occasions, and I go for a walk. I take Mex for a nice walk, and the other thing, I love cooking, and it really just puts me in my happy place. So I'll end up baking cakes and doing cooking different things if I'm feeling down, because I know it'll get me out of the mood or how I feel. So it's either going for a nice walk or cooking's the way I get myself back on track again.
That's excellent. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, same as Matt. For a nice walk, I think that really morning walk really helps. Early, and you've got the bird song coming up. It just lifts your spirit. That I find really good to look forward to, and up to a holiday is holiday, if that makes sense. It's just having that to look forward to.
So I just missed that last bit. So obviously nature is key for you, being outside, having something to look forward to, having a holiday to look forward to helps keep,
definitely in your mind that, at the moment, but I've got that holiday to look forward to. It doesn't have to be an expensive holiday when you're going away somewhere. I mean, I think I've realised in things that make you happy. That's it for me.
Yeah. Did you say at the end there, you've realised what makes you happy? Yes.
It's the speaking. I actually, so when I'm on it's a gorgeous day and there's butterfly bells and there's birds singing, feel quite emotional because thing to I'm sort of very grateful.
Paul, I lost you there, but this is what I heard, right?
Yeah.
Is when the sun's shining and you've got nature and it makes you feel quite emotional, and then you feel grateful. Is that what you said? Or because
I realize how lucky we are.
Right. So that is, I think, for me, the key that gets me feeling better. I'm really fortunate now. I don't feel down. I was going to say half as much as I used to, but like less than half. I mean, and I think for anyone who's lived with depression or just feeling that they haven't found their place in the world, or that things aren't right with their life, people that have lived with that. And to be honest, I spent a good chunk of my 20s in a horrible place where it was even, I often, when I look back, I put on this facade for the world out there, and yet inside, and not just inside my body, but inside my home and inside my life, it was the opposite of that. And that actually felt worse, because it was like I had this great life on the outside, but inside it was, it was awful. And I think, having lived such a long time feeling so crap, I have a tendency, when I do feel down, to get a little bit of panic, especially if it lasts, if I can't shift it within a couple of days. And the stuff that tends to get me down is usually global issues, right? Not the little stuff, global issues that have got no quick fixes, and I certainly haven't got an answer for. They can take me down, and I've learned what gets me up, and it's being grateful. There's so much to be grateful for. That is key to me. But I panic a little if it goes on for more than 2 or 3 days, because that memory of those years of feeling awful, I can remember them. I remember them, you know, I never want to go back there. So I'm always looking, but gratitude is the one for me. So
it's mad that thoughts sometimes, can't they?
What's that, Paul?
Our thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
It's our thoughts. Is that what you said? It's our thoughts. Yeah. Most, it's all of it. All of it, I think. This is really interesting. Talking of narrowboat isness. Now, if you've not watched these beautiful videos, I mean, these are the videos are just a balm, a soothing balm for the busy world. I'm on the spectrum too. I'm only able to work on one thing at a time, no planning to, if possible, because it creates tension in me. Yeah, I completely get that. Completely. The minute and sometimes it's me telling myself that I need to do that. No one even cares. That goes back to taking ourselves too seriously. Nobody even cares what I'm working on. And yet I take myself too seriously, get overwhelmed, and then I'm on a downward spiral. Oh, man. Neil, what's Neil saying? Just over COVID, now broken down car. It helps to talk to people and do what makes you happy. First of all, Neil, you know, you're having such a crappy couple of weeks, aren't you? I hope your car gets fixed, and I hope you're feeling better after COVID. But yes, I think it does help to talk to people. That always lifts my mood. What's Vicky saying? Hello, Vicky. Hello, everyone. When on the boat, I never feel down because usually we're in beautiful surroundings. Also, hello, Paul. We've just passed your boat. Oh, did she give you a cheeky wave? I love that. I love that. Oh, that is excellent. So I think nature, gratitude, talking to people, they all help. Any other suggestions from people that are watching, any other things that we can put in our toolbox that when you're feeling down that help you? I know for me, it's there's like a couple of podcasts I listen to. There's things that I always call them, like there's certain music, they soothe my soul, and that's how it feels when I listen to them, and it sort of just grounds me and brings me back, takes me out of my head. Walking is great for me because I think there's something about physically moving my body, feeling grounded, that helps me. And of course being out in nature. So I think they're all good. Anything else that you can add there, Maxine?
I would say meditating as well. That's really, I find it really good. Go and take yourself out quietly and listen to some music and meditate, and it just calms you down. And self-hypnosis as well helps.
Yeah. Has anyone tried tapping? Anyone tried tapping?
I've heard of it. I've not tried it myself. No.
I'd be interested to know if anybody watching us try tapping. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to do a really bad example. I've tried it a couple of times, as in I've watched a YouTube video, and it was something like, I mean, when I look back, it was something like, I don't know, I can't remember, but what I was tapping for wasn't the deepest of reasons, and like you tap on certain places. I don't know. Is it called EFT or is that something else? I don't know. Tapping, basically. If anyone knows or has tried tapping, I'd be really interested to hear more about that, because I've heard it's really good, and I've spoken to people that have found it to be a great way to calm them and to sort of reconnect with themselves. I'm just interested. Neil's put painting or colouring helps him. I think anything crafty with my hands helps me, especially a craft with a friend. You know, sitting down doing something is lovely. And Vicky, what was that, Paul?
Yeah, because you're solely focused on other things.
On that task. So Vicky said if she needs a laugh, she listens to comedy on a podcast to brighten my mood. I mean, that's a great one. And I always feel really fortunate that we have access to all these podcasts. I mean, I don't know what I'd do without podcasts. Now, Neil's put tapping can be an autistic or ADHD stim. So that's interesting. My one of my grandsons, he flaps a lot, and I think for him that helps him process stuff in his brain. I wonder if I don't know anything about tapping and autism or ADHD and how that's connected. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to find out more about that. So yeah, maybe we should do a topic of conversation on all the woo-woo stuff out there that works. Do you think, Maxine, that apps like meditation apps have made meditation more mainstream now?
Definitely, yeah, and people talk about it more as well. I mean, not that many years ago, really, people that meditated, everybody thought, oh, they're just away with the fairies and everything. But because it's become more vocal, people talk about it, and people have benefited from it. People are now more open to try things, and I think it's talking about mental health, which we do more openly now. Before, people didn't mention it because they thought that people would look down to them and think, oh, they can't cope with anything. We're trying to get more and more out into society, then I think it's definitely helped.
Yeah, thanks for that, Maxine. Paul, you meditate, or you shared, is it the Insight Timer? You shared an app which is brilliant.
I find really useful. I had a meditation. I feel better this morning than I did. I had a meditation. I relax more and read a book.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? How making time, we've said this before, making time for the stuff that makes us feel better always gets to the bottom of the list. And it's usually only when I plummet that I then start throwing everything at it. It's like all the things that I know, I'll do them all.
You have to sneak a few bits in every day.
Yeah, I know. That's what that's that's what I should do. Pamela, what's Pamela saying? I like view therapy, and your vlogs going along the canals are very relaxing. So that view therapy, does that mean just watching things makes you feel
I think so.
better? I think
presume
so. I think that's the same with me, with listening to stuff. It just calms me.
Yeah.
You know, just it's obviously got to be the right stuff. Well, I mean, we have rabbited on for quite a while, and Paul, I can't believe we have got through this with you with such dodgy internet. I mean, thank you. That's all I've got to say. Thank you to everyone that's bared with us. Thank you to everyone who's contributed. This has been really useful. It's number one for me. It's useful to know I'm not alone in feeling overwhelmed or down or taking myself seriously. That just makes me feel better in itself. But to share what works for ourselves and other people, I just think has such great value. So thank you to everybody for taking part today. It's been, you know, as always, I leave these conversations filled up. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. If you've got any ideas on what we can talk about over the next couple of weeks, let us know. I do think procrastination is a good one.
Yeah.
I went to a zero waste
Put that off for the
what was that?
We'll put that off to the following
We'll put that
week.
one back. We'll put that one back. I went to a zero waste workshop this week, so it'd be interesting to talk about zero waste at some point, or reducing our waste, saving the world. You know, that's obviously where I'm at. I just, you know, let's save the world anyway. 30-day project, that one, saving the world, coming next.
Watch this space.
Anyway, watch this space. Thank you so much, everyone. We love it. Hopefully you can join us next week. So have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.